The CDC eviction moratorium is over, but in Minnesota, none of that matters. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of Minnesota, and it's really about how some tenant protections were kept in place after the federal eviction moratorium ended up in Minnesota. But before I get into that article, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you want to see on this channel. I'm going to work to keep bringing you articles about the eviction moratorium and other news that's of interest to landlords. So, this article, it comes to us from KAALTV.com, and it says, Federal eviction moratorium ending won't impact Minnesota renters and landlords. And Minnesota is one of many states that actually have their own state eviction moratorium, or that they put protections into place after the moratorium ended, so that this crisis for landlords is still continuing in a lot of places throughout the country. And it's unfortunate, but there's nothing that people can do right now if they are really struggling, because not everybody's going to be eligible for this rental assistance, and eventually this stuff will have to end. These tenants will have to go. So let's see what this article says about the situation. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention eviction moratorium is currently slated to end on Saturday, July 31st. It's already over. Potentially affecting thousands of American renters behind on their rent, but not Minnesota renters. With legislative action last month, Minnesota has broader and longer renter protections than the ending CDC eviction moratorium. Minnesota renters who are eligible for federal emergency rental assistance are protected from eviction for non-payment of rent while an application for assistance is pending. This protection is in place until June 1st, 2022, in order to provide time for the federal resources to be used to satisfy outstanding rent arrears. Wow, that is a long time. So from reading this right here, it says that Minnesota renters who are eligible for the federal assistance are protected from eviction for non-payment of rent while an application is pending. So it's not even if they are approved or not. So imagine this, okay? You're a landlord, okay? The CDC eviction moratorium, it ended back on July the 31st, okay? You file for eviction. The tenant immediately puts in this application to get rental assistance, right? And it takes, with all the government bureaucracy, as slow as all these rental assistance programs are going, it takes them 3 or 4 months to look through this application. So that's 3 or 4 additional months that you have without rent with a non-paying tenant in your unit. Then finally, right, they come back and they're like, oh, this tenant doesn't even qualify for the rental assistance. So you just went 3 or 4 months without any rent, and then you find out that the tenant doesn't even qualify. So yeah, I mean, that's completely ridiculous. So then you have to file eviction on top of that. I don't know what the laws are in Minnesota, but it's a much more tenant-friendly state, so it could take you at least a month or two to get that tenant out of there if you do file eviction. So now you're up to being 5-6 months without rent before you're finally able to get that tenant out of your unit after the end of the federal eviction moratorium. So if you are a landlord, this legislation, what they put into place, can really screw you over, okay? So that's part of the reason why I don't believe in these state eviction moratoriums either. At this time, only renters who have had a material violation of their lease or who are eligible for rental assistance but refuse to apply may be evicted. Minnesota renters who are not eligible for emergency rental assistance and who owe back rent are protected from eviction until September 12th. So if you're not eligible, that means that you're protected at least till September 12th. That's another month and a half, okay? So, but how do you know you're not eligible unless you put that application in and then it gets rejected? So you understand all these problems with this, what they have in place. Gosh. Both the federal and state eviction moratoriums were put in place to help people stay in their homes during the historic threat to the nation's health due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I want renters to understand that the end of the federal eviction moratorium does not affect Minnesotans. Minnesota has its own timeline, said Minnesota Housing Commissioner Jennifer Ho. We know many renters are hurting, and property owners are too. Nice that they remembered us. We encourage renters and property owners to go to renthelpmn.org and work together to apply for emergency rental assistance. We have the funds to help pay back rent and 3 months of future rent. So here's my question for them though, okay? Property owners who are hurting, whose renters don't qualify for the rental assistance, are you going to help them? I don't think they are. I don't think you're going to do anything for them, okay? And only thing it says here that you're not going to even allow the tenants who don't qualify to be evicted until September 12th. So yeah, you're just screwing those property owners over, and that's not right. Okay, so I hope that, I talked about in another one of my videos how they have a federal lawsuit or a lawsuit against the federal government for the federal eviction moratorium. Well, I would hope that landlords in the state of Minnesota and other states that have state eviction moratoriums, they sue for back rent due to their state eviction moratoriums too, because this stuff has got to end. Okay, there is no reason for anything like this to continue or even be possible going into the future. You just can't take someone's property rights away. You just can't take someone's income away and then demand that they still provide a service. Okay, so they have to keep paying their bills to provide housing for someone else to live for free off of them. That's completely ridiculous. We're not homeless shelters. We're not low-income housing providers. That's the job of the government. And if they don't want to do it, then we need to sue them and make sure that we get our money back. Renters could apply for rental assistance or learn more about the application process by visiting, I'm not even going to read all of that. That's just their local stuff. To date, Rent Help MN has distributed more than $26.5 million to cover overdue rent and utilities. A dashboard of the Rent Help MN program can be found on Minnesota Housing's website. Renters with questions about their rights, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so another article, another state eviction moratorium that's still going on after the federal one has ended. Let's hope that all these things, they end quickly, because landlords are not going to be able to survive long term with any eviction moratorium in place, and it's really affecting the small mom and pop landlords the most. So yeah, I absolutely hate to hear things like this. There's always such a focus on the renters, but very little focus on the property owners who are paying all the bills for the renters.